UFC Fight Night Fight Island 5 Moraes versus Sandhagen has just wrapped up, so I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, starting with our early prelim opener. First of all, before we even get into the early prelim opener, this was one of the best fight cards I may have ever seen. The decisions were often good, and the finishes were like something I've never seen before. But we're going to start with the early prelim opener of Bruno Silva versus Tagir Ulanbekov. Tagir Ulanbekov coming in representing Team Khabib. Got the job done over Bruno Silva. I said he would get the finish. I said he was actually going to get a submission win, which Bruno Silva did very well in not letting happen. Bruno Silva had some moments in that fight. I thought Tagir Ulanbekov won the fight very clearly. But listen, I thought I would see Tagir Ulanbekov come out of this fight and I would think to myself, this guy's going to run through the whole division. I didn't see that. Bruno Silva put up a real good fight, and Tagir Ulanbekov, although winning himself the fight, I mean, it was a pretty sloppy performance, and he gave up positions a lot of times, ended up on his back, which was somewhat I didn't really like to see too much, but I feel like if we get him on a full camp and a real camp, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, he'll show up a little bit better, but still, I don't know what I wanted to see from him. But I did not see the Ulanbekov I needed to see to think that he runs through the whole division. I think there's good matchups for him to take right now. Rodrigo Bontorin, Tim Elliott's coming off a win in the flyweight division as well. That would be an equally good matchup. But Tagir Ulanbekov, very good. Or a rematch with Zhalgas Zhumagulov, because Zhalgas Zhumagulov coming off a loss to Raulian Paiva. A lot of people thought that he won that fight against Raulian Paiva, so why not run back Ulanbekov versus Zhumagulov. Zhumagulov beaten by majority decision over in Russia. Rematch him. Let's just get it over and done with, because otherwise we'll lose our chance. Tagir Ulanbekov gets a chance to right the wrong against Zhumagulov. Moving on up the card. Some people said that this any other night, this is fight of the night. Wasn't even that good. But still, good performance by Ulanbekov. He got the job done. That's all that matters. I was correct. 1-0 predictions. Moving on. Tracy Cortez versus Stephanie Egger. I saw a lot of people hyping up the credentials of the grappling of Stephanie Egger. People don't realise that credentials in women's MMA mean fucking nothing whatsoever, so stop bringing them up. They mean fucking nothing. At all. You can be a world championship boxer 10 times over and throw like a retard and get taken down and smushed. You can be a judo specialist like Stephanie Egger and just completely get out-grappled by Tracy Cortez, a woman who decided to fight for a career. Tracy Cortez was going to win this fight, in my opinion. Was Stephanie Egger a good underdog? Yes, I picked Cortez to win. I thought she was a safe pick, and she got the job done. Good grappling. Wasn't the most entertaining fight in the world. We're probably going to move on very quickly now, but still. Good job, Tracy Cortez. She got the job done over Stephanie Egger. Had some close submission attempts as well, so good job. Moving on. 8-1 women's bantamweight. Always nice to have around. Moving on. Giga Chikadze versus Omar Moraes was also on the card. Moraes, I picked him to win the fight. He kind of got beaten up pretty badly by Giga Chikadze. I thought the first round was going to go to Chikadze very clearly. Chikadze is very good in the first round. I thought as the fight went on, Moraes would start to pick things up, eventually earning himself a TKO in the third, or maybe a 29-28 unanimous decision via winning the second 2 rounds. Chikadze won the second round, but the fight was going in the way that I thought it was going to go until the third round, where Chikadze just smacked him straight on the jaw out of nowhere, because it looked like to me Chikadze was slowing down drastically, but apparently Omar Moraes is worse than Irwin Rivera, Brandon Davis on short notice. Bantamweights. Omar Moraes is a lightweight on full camp, and he had a better showing, or a worse showing, than Irwin Rivera and Brandon Davis, 2 bantamweights on weak notices fighting up a weight class. Crazy sport that we live in. Giga Chikadze, great performance. This is what we needed to see. Now I believe in Giga Chikadze, and my entire outlook on him as a fighter has completely changed. He showed good grappling. Omar Moraes had some good takedown attempts. Chikadze ended up getting back up, stuffing a couple takedowns as well. Yeah, it was just a good performance by Giga Chikadze. This is what I needed to see, because his other performances were very annoyingly bad. So now I'm glad that we finally get a good performance out of him, and I can trust in him to move forward in the featherweight division. He's a real deal now. A lot of people weren't on board before. I'm on board now. I wasn't on board before because he made things look well too close for my liking. Split decisions here, there, and everywhere. Fought a bunch of cans. One of the most padded records I've ever seen in my entire life of watching MMA. Giga Chikadze has fought the worst opponents on the regional scene I have ever seen ever. Those records are terrible, and I don't like him for that, because that just tells me how confident you really are in yourself. But he went out there and looked really good against Moraes. Still slowed down in the third round, which is something that he's obviously going to work on, but still, good job, Chikadze. Looks really good against a good guy in Omar Moraes, who was undefeated, so good job. 11-2, Chikadze gets the upset. Moving on. Ali El-Quasi versus Tony Kelley. Somehow above Chikadze versus Moraes on the card, because that makes sense. But still, good fight. Tony Kelley got the job done. Close submission attempts in the first round. Almost had him in like a triangle armbar in the first round, and I thought it was over. I was actually somewhat looking away from the screen because I thought Ali El-Quasi's arm was going to pop out. I thought we were going to see bone come through the skin. I don't know how he didn't tap. I don't get it. Tony Kelley literally had the cleanest armbar. Or not even the cleanest armbar. It was like an arm triangle, like a Dariush Doba arm triangle, like a Jourdain versus Kalibau arm triangle. But he was just tearing the arm backwards in the joint, and Ali El-Quasi's arm did not break. So I don't know what he is. But Kelley got the job done. Very close fight though, but I thought Kelley definitely got it done. Second round was good for Ali El-Quasi, I believe, but the third round was good for Kelley. Good decision win. Kelley gets the job done, moves on to 7-2. And Kelley is a guy who has a win over Christian Aguilar at lightweight. I picked him to win this one. I thought he was the biggest lock of the night, and he proved me correct. Good job, Tony Kelley, getting the job done with superior submission game, because every single time Ali El-Quasi ended up in the grappling department, Kelley was locking up some kind of crazy submission out of nowhere. So credit to him. Moving on. So far, 3-1 on the prelims on my predictions so far until Impa Kasanganay versus Joaquin Buckley. People are going to want me to talk about this one. I can feel it in the air, okay? And I'm going to lower the camera angle for this. We're going to get real creepy. Wow. Really bizarrely, weirdly good for a guy who has no taekwondo experience whatsoever in Joaquin Buckley, that comes in basically as a boxer. Head down, Mike Tyson style, swings big hooks, goes crazy. Really fun to watch. Out of nowhere, spinning back kick to the head after Impa catches his kick and gets a little bit lazy. Just spinning back kick to the head, mid-air, smashes him in the face, brutal KO. The way Impa Kasanganay went down made it even cooler because he went down stiff as a board. Wow. Joaquin Buckley. This makes Kevin Holland look really good, by the way, because Kevin Holland has a highlight reel KO over the highlight reel KO guy right now, but that was one of the best KOs I've ever seen, period. A lot of people are trying to compare this to Barboza versus M. I get it. This is at a slightly different skill level, although the game has developed quite a bit right now, but this is quite far down the rankings. But still, I said this before, there's a lot of stuff that goes into a KO being the greatest KO of all time. There's trash talk, there's build-up, there's the size of the fight itself, there's the fight itself, how did it go, there's when did the KO happen, was it Masvidal Ashkrim where it happened in highlight reel and record-breaking time? There's all of that stuff, but I would say this is the best KO move I have ever seen in the UFC. That's different than the best KO I've ever seen, because it's in debate with other ones, okay? But in terms of a KO move, for example, the technique that was used for the KO, this was the best I've ever seen in the UFC. Best KO move in the UFC of all time, without a doubt, to me, goes to Joaquin Buckley, and it's just crazy that he would be the guy to do it. He's literally, fair enough if Wonderboy scored something like this, but Joaquin Buckley is literally a brawling boxer, and he pulls off one of the most legendary taekwondo moves I've ever seen in my life. Of course, Dan Hardy had to mention that he knew all about it and he'd done some himself, but still, trying to steal the thunder from Joaquin Buckley, but still, amazing stuff. Impa Kasanganay, I feel terrible for him. I picked him to win the fight. That's so unlucky to be the guy that gets that done to you. And also, I want to say this about the fight that was big. Buckley was doing good at the start of the first round. I picked Impa Kasanganay to win the second and third round to 29-28 unanimous decision, Joaquin Buckley. It looks like that was what was going to happen. So this KO was even better, because although it was a good fight and very entertaining to watch, Kasanganay was starting to turn things around at the end of the first round, and in the start of the second round, it looked like he was going to do more of the same. And then that just happened out of nowhere, and Buckley just... Shadow Realm? I'm sure Mojahed Pudilat, the fucking cartoonifier of the UFC, is definitely going to make that into some kind of video. There's no way. If Mojahed Pudilat doesn't make a cartoon about Buckley's KO on Kasanganay, where Kasanganay leaves his body and enters the Shadow Realm and hugs Ben Askren and James Vick and all other members of the Shadow Realm as well, then I'll be very disappointed in him. But that was amazing from Joaquin Buckley, and he got the job done. And listen, what better way to get rid of people's memories of you getting highlight reel KO'd by Kevin Holland, because he got walk-off KO'd by Kevin Holland 2 months ago, by the way. What better way to rid their memories of that than getting a highlight reel KO of your own and basically scoring the best KO move of all time ever. Thank you, Joaquin Buckley. Amazing win. He's going to be on the main card of the next fight night, 100%. And I wouldn't mind seeing him versus Darren Stewart. I wouldn't mind seeing him versus Tom Breese. I wouldn't mind seeing him versus anyone, but we'll get to Tom Breese in a second. Moving on, up the card. Amazing performance by Buckley, though. Chris Dalcaus versus Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira. I picked Nascimento Ferreira to get the job done. I thought he was going to go out there, play with Dalcaus on the feet a little bit, then take him down and use the submission. Didn't happen whatsoever. Dalcaus went out there, 45 seconds in, one punch KO out of nowhere. Parker Porter, the absolute mess of a human, did better than Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira. And that's crazy to say, but he did. Dalcaus literally went out there and stuck it on his chin. One punch KO over Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira. Wasn't a one punch KO though. He dropped him and hurt him and then had to follow up with ground and pound. But still, good job from Dalcaus getting the job done. Amazing performance. And listen, Tom Aspinall also on the card mentioned in his post-fight speech that he's paying attention to Chris Dalcaus. So maybe we could see that matchup get made next. Who knows? I would rather do a Chris Dalcaus versus Justin Taffa. Something like that would be amazing. Maybe a Chris Dalcaus versus another guy at the bottom, because right now he's beat some good guys, but we'll see. Maybe a Chris Dalcaus versus the winner of Romanov versus Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. There's good matchups to make right now in the heavyweight division. I can't wait to see these guys start to develop, because heavyweight is getting lit right now. And I'll never use that word lit ever again. I'll never use the word lit ever again. But I needed to mention it for the way the heavyweights division is looking, because there are some monsters coming up. Moving on up the card, Tom Breese versus KB Buller. Yeah, dude, KB Buller just didn't look with it. And I thought he was a dangerous underdog because Tom Breese has anxiety issues and he shits his pants, and his surname means to be annoying in the UK history. If you're called Breese, it means that you're annoying and people want to be away from you. So that just for some reason made me worry about him. I don't know why, but it just made me worry about him. That's all I'll mention. Tom Breese, I picked him to win though. Got it done against KB Buller. And listen, here's the weirdest thing about the card. Best KO of all time, Buckley in Kasanganay. Dalcaus, one punch KO basically against Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira, and then finishes the job with ground and pound in the first round. Crazy. And then Breese, out of nowhere, one punch jab KO against KB Buller, sends him tumbling and finishes the fight. It was crazy. This whole card just went crazy from this moment onwards. From Buckley versus Kasanganay onwards, I think he put something in the water, because it was just from that point onwards, every fight was good other than a few of them. Obviously, we're going to get to them in a second, but still, Tom Breese went out there, jabbed KB Buller straight in the face, got the job done. KB Buller had fought nothing but cans. It was very clear what they were doing with him. He was literally like a test out of Canada. Like, can we get an Indian guy to the UFC? They gave him the most canned opponents I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, these opponents' sell-by dates were massively long away from the date right now. They were canned. Big time. Okay? And KB Buller fought a good opponent with a good record, and he got smoked and embarrassed, and Tom Breese beat the hell out of him. Unfortunate, they got an Indian guy in the UFC, but don't do it by feeding him cans. Let him get to there the legit way. Why would you set him up to fail? It doesn't make any sense, but he could have got the job done. But a jab KO, Tom Breese bounces back, and I would like to see Tom Breese versus Joaquin Buckley next. I think in December, on the Till versus Hermansson card, probably on the main card as well. Breese versus Buckley would make a whole lot of sense. Moving on up the card to the main card. Yusuf Salau versus Ilia Topuria. However, we're going to take a break to the prelims, and we're going to count back. I went 4-3 on the prelims overall. I got Tom Breese. I lost on Dalcaus, lost on Buckley, lost on Chikadze, but I got Cortez, Ulanbekov, and Kelley. 4-3 on the prelims so far. Moving on to the main card, though. Yusuf Salau versus Ilia Topuria. There were good wins on this card that I didn't pick to win, and I'll give them all the respect they deserve. But Yusuf Salau looked like absolute shit. He looked terrible. I don't know how he won the fight. It was to the point where I was, who am I watching right now? Like, he just was not good in certain positions. Ilia Topuria looked good, don't get me wrong. He did some very good stuff in the first round. But Ilia Topuria has not competed in 2020, period. Okay? He is taking this fight on a week's notice. He is undersized. He is on a week's notice. He has not fought in 2020, not one time whatsoever, and he didn't know he was going to be signed to the UFC, and he did not have a fight signed anyway, so he wasn't training full-time 100%, especially under the current climate of the world. There's no way you're preparing for just some random chance that you'll be 100% fit to fight in the UFC next weekend, but still, Yusuf Salau got out-grinded by him in the third round. If Topuria went out there and finished him early, I get it. But for Salau to get out-grinded when he's at a full camp and 3 fights already in 2020, to get out-grinded by a smaller guy in Ilia Topuria in the third round when he has a week's notice, it was weak from Yusuf Salau. He should have got the job done. He failed. It's unfortunate. He had good jiu-jitsu defense because Ilia Topuria finishes a bunch of guys. This was the first time that Ilia Topuria went to a decision, I believe. So very good from Salau to defend. I just think he should have been able to expose him in the third round. And he just didn't do it. And it was unfortunate to watch because he definitely should have had the cardio advantage. It was just unfortunate. Ilia Topuria got the job done, but at least Yusuf Salau didn't lose to some kind of can. Ilia Topuria is now 9-0, undefeated in the featherweight division. Looking at him in there against Yusuf Salau, I think he could make bantamweight, so we'll see what happens with him. He could probably jump between both divisions. Good job. Both take some time off. It was a scrappy fight. It was very stressful to watch. Very tiring to watch as well, I'm sure we can all agree. Let's bring them both back early next year. Ilia Topuria, Yusuf Salau against different opponents. Maybe do Ilia Topuria versus, I have no idea, Steven Peterson, someone like that, a bottom feeder in the featherweight division. Yusuf Salau versus someone like maybe, I don't know, another featherweight coming off a loss, Amirkhani. Maybe they could do Yusuf Salau. I don't know who they're going to do Yusuf Salau versus. Probably Sung Woo Choi again. Rebook it. That was the original fight. Let's just rebook it again. I don't mind. But Salau got paid, so good job. Moving on. Tom Aspinall versus Alan Baudot. He's a problem. He's a problem. There's a real big problem, and his name is Tom Aspinall in the heavyweight division. Chris Dalcha showed up tonight big time. Great KO finish, don't get me wrong. Probably a better win than Aspinall's anyway, because Nascimento Ferreira, I credit him more than I do Alan Baudot. But Aspinall, he just showed that there's something different. I said this in the middle of the fight, where as soon as he shot the takedown, I said to the fight companion stream that was watching me, I said out loud, this is when people forget that he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and he's been grappling the majority of his life. Everyone sees Aspinall as this boxer, and then a couple spinning stuff gets thrown, Aspinall doesn't like it, and it's like this. In an instant, I'm taking you down, full mount, straight away, smashing you with ground and pound. Wasn't the best stoppage in the world, because they weren't really landing too clean. I'm sure that they could have landed cleaner. They could have got around the guard. They were landing on the guard. It makes sense, though, to stop the fight there, because the way Alan Baudot shelled up, it was an I'm done body language. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like Alan Baudot was scrambling, looking for a way out, like Daquan Townsend against Dusko Todorovic, and they stopped the fight a bit early and shots were landed on the guard. Todorovic had good ground and pound, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's a wrong stoppage. I'm just describing the guy on bottom. It's not like he was scrambling. He kind of just turned over and accepted the pummeling that Aspinall was giving him. And now Aspinall's called out Sergey Spivak again. Perfect card to go on. Let's have an all UK off right now. Put Cartwright on the card. Put Mason Jones on the card. Jack Shaw, he's not on the card, but who cares? Put him on there anyway. I don't get it. Double book him. Make sure he's on the card. Till versus Hermansson, December 5th. Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Spivak. Open up the main card. Second on the main card, above Aspinall Spivak, Buckley versus Breese. Make it happen. That would be amazing. And all of them can have quick turnarounds as well. Sergey Spivak didn't get injured badly, and he just had to pull out of the fight. I think it might have been the Rona syndrome even. So now he can now rebook against Aspinall, and he accepted it the first time. I'm sure he'll accept it the second time, and I think Aspinall will beat him. But one thing I like about Aspinall, he's taking things slow. He's not rushing himself. He knows that he can improve, and I like that about him. Moving on up the card, Marcus Perez versus Dricus du Plessis. I like Dricus du Plessis. I'm going to give him the credit because he went out there and got the job done. He looked bad, man. He looked really bad. And I know there's a lot of South African viewers, that are going to watch this video and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about and you'll chop me up and put me in a suitcase or something. But still, I understand that you're angry that I've said that. I picked Dricus du Plessis to win by first round finish, by the way. So I'm not biased here. It's not like I'm salty that Marcus Perez lost or anything. I thought that Dricus du Plessis would get it done. But, like, he didn't look good. Like, coming forward, he looked reckless. He caught Marcus Perez behind the ear while Marcus Perez was throwing a spinning elbow. It was a perfectly timed shot out of nowhere. I don't even think he meant to land the shot. I think he just kind of caught Perez a little sooner in his trajectory than he was supposed to. Landed behind the ear, put him out straight away, landed good follow-up shots and got himself the first round finish. But I will say this, the guy was swinging like Dalby was swinging against Ronson on the last Fight Island card. Not the last Fight Island card, but the last trip we had to Fight Island. I believe it was UFC Fight Island 3. Dalby was swinging forward against Ronson, and it was like he was asking to be KO'd. I like Dricus du Plessis. I think he should take some time, improve his game a bit. He's a young guy. He's got a career ahead of him. I don't know how old he is, actually. I just made up that he's a young guy. Born in 1994. He's not that old. 26. You've got time. 26 years of age. Take some time. Training out of South Africa. He took some shots and said he was going to be the first UFC champion out of Africa. Which is true, because Usman moved to Nebraska and Adesanya moved to New Zealand. He will be the first African, at the time of claiming the belt, champion. I know that sounds weird to people, because he's white. I get it. That could sound weird, but he's technically correct, is what I'm trying to say here. But still, Dricus du Plessis looked a bit off. Maybe he was injured. I did point out earlier in this fight that his leg looked a bit weird. I think he might have had a knee injury, because if you look at the fight again, if anyone's watched Brandon Davis versus Randy Costa, he was kind of moving around like that, where Costa was very clearly injured. And I think Dricus du Plessis was injured as well. I'm maybe going to put it down to that because he didn't look that badly before. Maybe it was a jump up in competition. Marcus Perez looked good, landed some good body kicks and stuff. But all that Joker mask and makeup. Who's the Joker now? You're going to be cut. It's unfortunate. Yeah. Want to know how I got these scars? The UFC cut me. That's how you got the scars. Interesting. Dricus du Plessis, good performance though. Got the job done. I just thought it was a bit off. So I think he needs to take some time. Come back at the end of the year maybe. I don't know if that means taking some time, but he wants Trailblazer. That's not a good fight for him right now. I think Kevin Holland would piece him up. But I could see a matchup between him and another guy at the bottom of the middleweight division in the meantime. I don't think they should jump him up so soon, because I think there could be some problems. But good performance from Dricus du Plessis. I'd just say give him one more fight, and then jump him up the rankings a little bit. Just not quite yet, in my opinion. I picked him to win, he got it done though. Moving on, up the card, Ben Rothwell versus Marcin Tybura. People, and I want to say this before we get into the reaction to the fight here, Marcin Tybura opened as a 2-1 underdog. That needs to be mentioned, okay? I put money on Tybura as a 2-1 underdog. He ended near evens. I don't know how the odds makers... I always say this. The best way to bet money is to predict the change in the line. I know people wait until the very end to bet their money. I've done that quite a bit. I'm not a betting expert or anything here, but I just feel like the best way to get a real steal for money is to see odds and think, where are these odds going to end up, and put the money down early. Because I thought that Tybura is going to end up evens with Rothwell, so I put money down on him as a 2-1 underdog in a parlay with Aspinall in the first round and one other guy. I believe it was Aspinall in the first round, and Tom Breese, I think I put in a parlay together, made some money there, which was very enjoyable. Thank you very much, guys. But still, Marcin Tybura, good performance, but very good from Ben Rothwell as well. I watch him fight all the time. He's got a great chin. I just think he put a little bit too high of a pace in the first round. I predicted a decision for Tybura, winning the last 2 rounds to a 29-28 decision after Ben Rothwell kind of tries to set a pace that he can't keep up with. I thought Tybura was just going to outpace him. That's exactly what happened in the second round. He outlanded him. In the third round, he outlanded him as well. Ben Rothwell was doing good the entire time. Don't get me wrong. It just seemed like Tybura was landing the cleaner shots, the better shots in the second and third round. Not to mention that third round could have been a 10-8, but he didn't do quite enough damage, I guess. But still, that third round was very dominant. He was just smashing apart Rothwell. I like the matchup. I think Tybura should take on Sergey Spivak in Russia for an Eastern European / Russian showdown, I guess. Russian Sergey Pavlovich, Marcin Tybura from Poland. Make a fight happen there next year at some point. I don't know what's happening with Pavlovich, but he hasn't signed a fight in ages. So still, good matchups to make in the heavyweight division. Pavlovich versus Tybura, please. Moving on up the card to another good one. Edson Barboza versus Makwan Amirkhani. We spoke about this in a full fight reaction video on the channel. Go check it out if you haven't already. Barboza looked amazing in the first 2 rounds. Barboza looked tired in the third round, which always happens in Barboza fights. Clear win for Barboza. I thought the third round could have gone to Barboza. I thought the third round could have gone to Makwan Amirkhani. Watching it, after watching it back, I don't mind the third round going to Barboza, but there's no way Amirkhani won any other round than the third, and there's no way he didn't get 10-8'd in the second. I know that he finished the second round on top, and he landed an elbow or two, but he got dropped twice badly, and he almost got submitted as well that round, and he just got pieced up regardless of any of that. So I'm definitely going to give a 10-8 in the second round for Barboza. I scored it a 29-27 overall if you give the third to Makwan, but it could have been a 29-26 or a 30-26 even. It could have been anything, but it definitely wasn't a 29-28, so I don't know what judge scored it that. Like, I don't get it. I get giving Makwan maybe a third round because he was on top for 3 minutes, and the referee stood him up. So it's not like Barboza negated the takedown and scrambled himself. So that takes away points from Barboza, kind of. The referees need to mind their own business. It pisses me off. I agree with Aljamain Sterling. But still, good win from Barboza. Finally, he doesn't get robbed. He still did a little bit, though. He kind of did get robbed a little bit with a 29-28 scoring. But still, good win from Barboza. Wasn't the most action-packed fight, but there was good moments throughout it. Very entertaining to watch. I think Barboza should take on the winner of Shane Burgos versus Dan Ige early next year. I want them to make Shane Burgos versus Dan Ige as well, by the way. That would be a good one. Moving on, up the card. Marlon Moraes versus Corey Sandhagen. Sucks to be Marlon Moraes right now. Just got Will kicked in the second round. Toyed with before then as well. It's not like Marlon Moraes was destroying him, which is what I predicted. I predicted Sandhagen to win by TKO. I predicted Sandhagen to win by TKO in the 4th round. I didn't predict that. I thought that Marlon was going to destroy him in the first. Sandhagen was going to survive. Marlon was going to gas out and Sandhagen would take over later on with some good heart and skill. But he just toyed with Moraes, start to finish. Completely outlanded him, 38 significant strikes to 14. Those aren't the official numbers, but still, it's a rough guide, and it was around that as well. He definitely did double up or triple him up on numbers, 100%. Outleg kicked Moraes in the first round. Head kicks were landing at will. Body kicks were landing at will. Good jabs, good hooks. I mean, Sandhagen's just a problem in that division, I think it's fair to say. And a will kick finish at the end. It's just another good thing to have at bantamweight. Sandhagen coming off a win. I'd like to see him versus Edgar, maybe Dillashaw. We'll see what happens. Whoever he doesn't get is going to get someone like Garbrandt maybe, or maybe, who knows, the winner of a fight coming up at bantamweight. Who knows? I actually don't know what's going to go on at bantamweight, but I'm glad that Sandhagen won. Because if Moraes won, they were going to give the title shot to They were going to give the title shot to Moraes if he won. And Sandhagen won, which means they're giving it to Sterling. The UFC can't stop it from happening. We're getting Piotr Jan versus Aljamain Sterling because, god damn it, Aljamain Sterling has earned this title shot. Okay? And this just proves it even more because now Sterling's going to be the real #1 contender. I'm very glad. Sandhagen looked amazing. I say get him right back in there, maybe even in December against a TJ Dillashaw. Not in December because TJ won't be back till February, but maybe a Frankie Edgar early next year. We'll see what goes down. Great performance by Sandhagen. Put himself in a position to get a title elimination bout. If he wins his next fight, he's 100% getting a title shot. Good job. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. On the main card overall, I went 1, 2, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. I went 5-1 overall on the main card, which I thought was pretty good. And I went 4-3 on the prelims. What's that overall? 9-4. Not bad. I made money as well. I turned £10 into like £27 or something. So I did good. What about you guys? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. One of the best cards I've seen overall in terms of finishes. 100%. Click that button there. And toodle. Pip. See you later.